Welcome back to Plant Built Wellness. I'm your host, Samara.
And I'm your co-host, Kristie.
And today we have episode 4 for you, a very exciting topic we're talking about today. We're going to be going over mindset and well being. Kristie's going to share some of her journey and her experience. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited.
So this episode is part of the all-encompassing way in which we want to take care of ourselves. So you've got your nutrition, you've got your fitness. Mindset is just another element where when we can, we want to ensure that we try to balance this all out. We do the best we can. I wanted to share a little bit about my story. Maybe you can relate, and hopefully it lends to provide you some insights, as well as I'd like to share some tips, some tools that you all ladies can hopefully benefit from. And I know Samara is going to ask some interesting questions. I'd like her to share her thoughts on some tools, tips. I know Samara has had her own journey, so would love to hear a little bit about that too as we continue our discussion. But a little bit about me. This is the first time I'm really sharing about my journey with well-being, mindset, mental health. I had an experience with my latest employer and in work situation where my anxiety just really got the best of me and took over. And basically made me step back and pause as to what I needed to do for myself, what was most important, and what I wanted to do moving forward. I'll start when I was, growing up. I was brought up in a dysfunctional home situation. I had a father who abandoned me when I was a young teenager. I had a mother who was fraught with anxiety, worry, fear, doubt, and the like. Not really optimal situation for a child to grow up. And unfortunately, I carried some of those experiences and traits into my adulthood, like most of us do, right? I mean, we do what we know. And even though what we know we think is comfortable, it's comfortable because we recognize it. We don't know anything else. It's not like it's comfortable because it feels good necessarily. It's just all we know. I had this in experiences when I was a child and wondered as I was growing up why certain things were challenging for me.
Right.
Social situations, relationships, getting close, being vulnerable. That's a real big one. That I grew up, that's a no-no. And unfortunately, society in America kind of supports that. I mean, I think we're getting better as a country and as a society for each generation that comes up and grows up, if you will. And I've
Right.
seen some really great improvements, right, around the stigma of mental health issues, etc. So my mental health concerns, problems were really around anxiety. I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder about a year or two ago. And believe it or not, after all this time, I had no idea that's something that existed. I had no idea that's something I even had. And so I was diagnosed with that by a therapist, and it made so much sense.
Right.
Everything she was explaining, like the dots started connecting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, wow, I'm not abnormal. I'm not unusual. I'm not a weirdo. I mean, this is just, it happens, whether good or bad, indifferent, unfortunate, etc. It was the way it was and is.
Correct.
In my, like I was alluding to at the beginning of this conversation, my latest workplace experience, the triggers, the things that were happening just really cemented in me and really caused me to go in a spiral, if you will, and brought forth that real deep anxiety, panic attacks, several of which I experienced that I really hadn't truly experienced like that before. I had situations that I felt very defensive and reacted defensively, etc., but never had that true full-blown anxiety. And so that made me have to step away from from my last role. I just couldn't do it anymore. I
Mhm.
just had to take care of me. And I am very fortunate that I could step away. I had to for my health. I
Right.
finally had to listen to me rather than keep pushing and proving and being productive,
Mhm.
doing, and never resting, never sitting down. I mean, everything changed from that experience. And as bad as it was, I think it helped me
Yeah.
in the end. That is something that most people don't like to talk about. They don't
Mm.
want to identify within themselves. And trust me, I get it because I was never taught that this was okay.
Right.
And so, what's nice now is that mental health is not the stigma as much as it once was.
Yeah.
We have famous people who've actually come out and
Yeah.
said, "Hey, I need a break." You know, Simone Biles in the Olympics in
Right.
Tokyo, she actually said, "You know what? I need to step away. I
Yep.
can't compete in this competition right now." I mean, devastating for her, but also just so inspirational. So that's a little bit about my story. Samara, I want to hear a little bit about yours if you're willing to share a little bit, touch
Yeah.
upon it. And then let's talk about the tools that we can
Yes.
share with the ladies that maybe they know them, maybe not, but I think it's good to talk about. It's healthy to talk about this subject.
Thank you so much, Christy, for sharing. I know that's really hard to share what you've been through. I really appreciate you sharing. I love that we're touching on this topic because a lot of women don't actually feel comfortable talking about this. A lot of women don't feel
Right.
comfortable sharing the trauma they've been through or sharing their
Mm,
feelings. And anxiety can be frowned upon. It can be frowned upon like there's something wrong with you. And
exactly.
there's nothing wrong with us. We all have anxiety. I heard a quote that I really love, and I wanna plug this in here because I think a lot of our viewers might be able to connect with this quote. But I heard this quote recently that says, "Anxiety is just energy that has nowhere to go." Looping this back to fitness and health,
Mm,
this is why moving your body can really make an impact on your mental health and well-being,
mm,
right?
mm.
The more we focus on our fitness, our health, the more high quality food we put in our body, the more healthy movement that we do.
Agree.
This really helps. And I will say we'll get into coping mechanisms in a minute for anxiety. Movement is at the top of my list. But yeah, I will share a little bit about my journey as well, just like Christy did, because it is important to know that you're not alone, ladies. If you have anxiety disorders or if you're going through dealing with trauma, if you're noticing triggers come up later in life, for me, a lot of my triggers and my trauma didn't really start to affect my health until my mid late 20s and on. So we
Mm,
carry this trauma with us from childhood. And then, of course, trauma might happen as well when we're adults. And a lot of times there's a delayed response on when it
right.
shows up in our life. And I feel like, Christy, you might have experienced that in your work experience that you're
Exactly.
talking about. That trauma might have been for that, for something earlier than that, right, in
Well,
life.
we bury it, right? We have our
We
protectors
bury. Yeah.
who
Yeah.
try to protect us from feeling.
Right,
Mhm.
right. That is something that society ingrained in our parents' generation was to don't talk about your feelings, don't, kind of bury them down. I am happy that society is going a different direction and
Yeah,
we are starting to talk about trauma, starting
right.
to address it, starting to work on it. I have a similar story to Christy in a way where most of my trauma comes from my childhood. I did kind of allude to this in our first episode when we were talking about ourselves, but I have a lot of trauma and resentment from my childhood due
Mm,
to some unhealthy environments that I was not only raised in but born into quite literally in
mm,
the womb. I talked about my autoimmune issue. I was born with a severe autoimmune disease, and although that has been on and off throughout my whole life, something I've dealt with, I actually ended up getting 2 more severe autoimmune issues, and they didn't show up until my mid to late 20s, and that is because all of that the triggers, the anxiety, the trauma really started to surface, once I got that mature age, right? Yeah, trauma builds up over time. I like to focus on healing the inner child. That is something that I've spent probably the better of a decade doing is really working on healing my inner child through therapy, through mechanisms that are self-implemented as well as getting professional help. And
mhm,
that really does play a huge role. Now I like to have this mindset when I'm thinking about myself and talking to myself with my inner dialogue. I like to
mhm.
I like to picture a younger version of myself, that 8-year-old girl that was full of dreams and potential and just excitement for the world. I like to think about her when I talk to myself, when I like,
Yeah.
analyze my self-thoughts because you are that person. I saw another quote this last week that I loved, and it says, "There are two opinions that you should take seriously in life that you should care about, and you shouldn't care about any opinions other than these two. No one else's opinions matter." And that opinion that you should care about is number one, the younger version of yourself, that 8-year-old version of yourself. And number two, the 80-year-old version of yourself, the older version of
Oh,
yourself. In one way, you're considering the opinion of your younger self. Are you living up to the dreams and potentials that your younger self had? Are you having grace with yourself and nurturing your inner child? And
yeah.
number 2, think about the older version of yourself, the 80-year-old version of yourself. Would that person look at you now and be proud at you and really feel that you are focusing on what you should be focusing on life, that you are treating yourself the way you are supposed to treat yourself? Would the 80-year-old version of yourself be filled with pride and happy memories, or would that 80-year-old version of yourself be filled with regrets? I heard that quote and I really loved it because, we get so wrapped up in what people think of us. And we're all guilty of this. I know that it's not just, it's not just me, not just you, it's not just the women. It's everyone. Everyone in our society, of course, influences that a lot, right? So we care about making our parents proud. We care about how we look to other people in our career, how we look to our peers. We care about how we look to our friends. We care about our status in society. And so always focusing on people pleasing. And I don't know if Christy is the same as me, but I grew up as a people pleaser.
Yes, guilty. Yes.
Yeah,
And
you would
and
agree.
and and just a harsh critic of myself.
Yes.
I mean, we're the worst as women, generally speaking, talking to ourselves. We would never talk to a friend the way we talk to ourselves sometimes.
Right?
I mean, it's sad,
Yes.
right? It's a
Yes, it
reality,
is.
though, that there are so many of us who do that. And to your point, I mean, society is changing. It is. I mean, I think COVID and the isolation and what happened with
Mm,
the younger generations, the kids going to school and really losing out on all those social engagements,
correct.
that started what I saw as the shift. It was the
Mhm.
begin of the shift of how people perceive mental health,
Yes.
etc. And so, COVID, as much as it was horrible, I think the awareness of
Right.
mental health and the importance of taking care of ourselves, thanking our protectors as they're called for taking care of ourselves from not flying off the handle or wigging
Mm,
out and just forgiving ourselves. And to your point, the child, like the 8-year-old child, and being thankful, as hard as it is, for the lessons learned and for
right.
what we had to go through, but how our internal systems have tried to take care of us, even when they've acted in odd ways or maybe not the most optimal way they could.
Correct. I love that. And that's I do agree with you. I think COVID made us aware of a lot of things, not just mental health, but physical health and social health and all of that. There's a lot of awareness that came from that dark time. This is a great topic for us to talk about today and just be honest with you ladies out there. If you're going through a hard time or you've been through a hard time or maybe you have one that's coming up, who knows what life throws at you. Just know that it's okay to prioritize yourself, like Christy was saying. I love that term right there, prioritize yourself. It's okay to fill your cup before you fill others. It's
Mm,
okay. It's okay to have these feelings. It's okay to have anxiety. It's part of life, and how we deal with it is so important. One thing that I've learned in my journey that keeps repeating itself, it's like a lesson that keeps coming back to me in many different forms and ways, is how much stress, and I'm grouping anxiety in with stress because they're linked. How
sure.
much stress affects your health, your
Oh,
physical health, your mental
100%.
health. Yes, right? So
We know that.
stress affects your health in so many ways, and I believe right now we can classify stress as one of our top 5 killers of our modern time. And it's not a killer in itself directly. It's a killer in what it leads to. Stress, chronic stress leads to mental health issues. Chronic stress leads to Obesity, chronic stress leads to heart disease because of the high blood pressure. Chronic stress leads to cancer because of the body being in survival mode, right? All of these things can be linked back. So when you think about anxiety, you have to understand that it's normal to have anxiety, to have anxious feelings, to have anxious times. Stress is normal and stress is not always a bad thing. However, chronic stress and chronic anxiety will take its toll on you. This is where I think I would like Kristie and I to kind of share our mechanisms for dealing with chronic stress and anxiety, because that's where you're going to see that shift. When you develop stress management, anxiety management, when you develop the skill of managing your stress and anxiety properly, this is
Sure.
where you can see a lot of change in your physical and mental health. Wouldn't you agree, Kristie?
Absolutely. I think there are quite a few tools out there, and some of which don't need to cost hardly anything,
Right,
that can take very little time because I know all of us are so busy.
right,
But again, we've got ladies on here who are, are holding down the household, raising little kids. We've got ladies on here who are older, who are empty nesters, but trying to figure out what's next for them. Maybe going into retirement. What does that look like? A lot of thoughts and feelings, but I'd like to share a few of my tips and tools that have helped me. And again, this is from our experience, right? Like
okay,
we have had our share of anxiety. We have had our share of stress. So these are tips and tools that we've lived and breathed and utilized that we hope can help you. And if you know them already, fab, then maybe try to take the time to take a minute or two or three a day, or go out and do whatever it is to take care of you. And if you don't know them, hopefully you can try to start doing one. But I would say for me, one thing that really helped me is therapy. So
right,
again, if you're working, there are employee assistance programs as part of some of companies that will pay for therapy for a certain number of sessions, which is amazing. Otherwise, there are other types of therapists who might be able to help you through a nonprofit organization. But I feel like those are the experts, right? They have their schooling, they have their experience, they can be the objective party, not someone that
right,
knows you personally and has an opinion. Or they can provide their insights and guidance and support in a more neutral way. So
right.
that's number one for me. Number two, I would say getting out in nature.
Hmm.
Walking the dog, walking on your own, just sitting outside. Maybe it's sitting outside on your deck in your backyard. Maybe it's having a cup of tea. Maybe it's having a cup of coffee out there and just sitting in the sunshine. Maybe it's pausing and trying to be present and trying to chill the mind, which is so hard for me. That's why I struggle with meditating, which is beautiful too. And that could be part of what you're doing out with your cup of tea or coffee. Also for me, I have found that I love self-help books. There are many authors out there who are spiritual, who are motivational speakers, who that you can go ahead and Google and research. They might have an app you can sign up for. I find all of these resources are beautiful things. And this is outside of the movement that we talked about, that movement, healthy movement, that good nutrition, sleep,
Hmm.
all of that, so those are kind of at the top of my head, the things that I found beneficial to me and help me especially when I'm feeling off kilter, I'm going off the rails a little bit. And I have to throw this one in too. Got to get this one in journaling. Journaling is writing, just pouring your heart out, easy peasy. You don't have to think about it. No one's reading it except for you. But those are some initial thoughts. What about you, Samara?
You covered a lot of my favorites, Christy. Thank you. Yes, I'm gonna focus on maybe some that you didn't cover. Take it back to more some basics that something that people might not think about as a tool for anxiety, but something that is definitely a natural tool we have and can be free, right? My top anxiety tool, my top stress relief tool is going to easily be movement of any kind. Kristie talked about walking, and that's great. The more steps, the better, whether it's outside on a walking pad, inside. I do think that outside is great because you get that fresh air that Kristie talked about, that vitamin D. But I'm going to focus on two types of movement that I actually find even more powerful than my daily steps. And the first one is strength training. I'll be honest with you, ladies, those dumbbells and plates that you're picking up and throwing around, it is so great to take out your stress on those. It's like having an outlet to take your stress out on that doesn't talk back, that doesn't judge you at all, right? Just helps you release all of that. So
True.
I will be 100% honest. When I started strength training, my goal was almost purely physical. It was
Mm.
get stronger. My goal was to build my body, build shape, build curves that I wanted, create that body shape that I truly dreamed about. That's why I got into strength training. And I will tell you, I have built the shape, so I'm good now. Maintaining it's pretty easy. But what I feel my workouts now are for, there's very few workouts I do for the physical purpose anymore. My strength
Okay.
training workouts, I will say, they are my favorite form of therapy. I go into the weight room and I just take out all my stress and anxiety on the weights. It is my number one favorite way to get that out of my body, to get that energy that has nowhere to go out of my body. Well, strength training has so many benefits, which we have talked about and we will talk about more in this podcast. But I will come back to that as many times as possible because for me, and now that I've been strength training for going on my 15th year, I
Woo!
will say I will say that the mental health benefits of strength training are now my favorite benefit, right?
Nice.
The second form of movement that I'd like to touch on that might be a little underrated, and I hesitate to talk about this form of movement too much because I don't want it to be overdone. Us women, we
Mm.
tend to overdo this way too much
Mm.
when we're talking about physical goals. So that would be cardio. Cardio is something that women think of as a fat loss, a weight loss, a calorie burning tool.
Yes.
I would challenge all of you to not think of your cardio as that tool. Will it burn fat and calories? Absolutely. Any kind of movement is going to, right? But what I would say is I would challenge you to think of your cardio as a way of releasing that energy that's pent up that has nowhere else to go
Okay.
while also detoxifying your body because
Mm.
not you're not only letting out energy, you're letting out stress, excess sodium, any toxins from your skin. So I personally have never enjoyed cardio in my life. It's always been difficult for me. It's been extra difficult for me than the average person because I told you all in my beginning story about me that I was born with a severe autoimmune issue of asthma.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
cardio has always been one of the most challenging physical things for me to do because I
Mm.
literally cannot breathe like a normal person. Now, the great
Mm.
news is the more I do it, the stronger my lungs get. And it actually has
Ah,
really, really helped all of my autoimmune issues I've gone through have
nice.
benefited from cardio. That detoxifying, that building up the cardiovascular strength, the strength in the lungs, strengthening the immune system, all of that. So cardio has so many benefits for me. And I still to this day will be honest with you, in the moment when I'm doing it, when I'm sitting there out of breath and dripping in sweat, I hate it, absolutely despise it. But when I
Ah.
get done when I get done with my cardio session, I feel amazing. You get the
Ooh.
endorphin rush, all those
Yes.
happy chemicals being produced in your body, and you have let out that stored pent up anxiety, energy, stress, as well as all those toxins. I want to put a little preface here, or I want to clarify. What I want to clarify is that for us women, high intensity cardio exercise like hit workouts and high intensity things like
Oof.
running and sprinting, I don't recommend we do a lot of that. Maybe once or twice a week if you love that kind of stuff, but be careful because that actually can create chronic levels of cortisol. So, the kind of cardio that's going to lower your cortisol and give you all these benefits I'm talking about is what we call LISS, low intensity steady state cardio, which is what I do. I really focus on staying in zones 2 and 3 of my
Mm.
cardiovascular zones.
Mhm.
And that
Mhm.
is the fat burning zone as well. It's going to burn
Mm.
fat, not muscle,
Mhm.
which is great.
Mm. Mhm.
And it's going to be something that's sustainable that I can do for 20 to 30 minutes at a time. It doesn't overexert my body, but it gets that movement in. So that's my second one. Go ahead,
Can I
Kristie.
ask you a question? Yes,
Yeah,
I know.
absolutely.
And yes, I want to be mindful of time, but I have to ask this
Please
question.
do.
So I don't know if everybody's aware of what their zone 2 and zone 3s are. Like,
Right.
what, first of all, what are those? And then second, what numbers are those for certain ages, etc.
Right.
Mm-hmm,
Well, that's a
mm-hmm.
really good question. And what I love is that now with our technology, I can do this. So for all of our ladies out there, I'm going to give you an easy way to do this. I'm going to pop in a graphic right here.
Woohoo!
And this graphic is going to show you the different zones. Now, they go off a percentage of your effort, essentially. And to find out which zone, what zone you're in for your age, there is an easy calculation to do. I don't even recommend you do it yourself. I just recommend you Google cardio zone calculator, and it's going to give you a graph. I'll pop the graph in right here that I use, and it's going to show you the age range and what your zone would be. So for myself, I'm in my mid late 30s, ladies. I'm 36 years old. So for me, cardio zone 2 that I like to hang out in most of the time is going to be anywhere from like 115 beats per minute all the way up to 135. And then cardio zone 3 for me is around 135 up to 150. So
And
that's
that's your
roughly
beats per minute of your heart.
beats per minute, yeah, of my heart. Those are my
Yes.
BPM.
Yeah.
So that would be my zone 2 and 3. I hang out in zone 2 as much as possible because it is that lower, that fat burning zone, plus the zone that's not going to burn muscle, not going to increase my cortisol. About once or twice a week, I will allow myself to pop up into zone 3. And on a rare occasion, if I'm feeling good, zone 4, just for a short period of time to challenge the cardiovascular system.
Ah.
That is my method on it. And I honestly do cardio, ladies, most days of the week. It's not like an excessive thing. I don't overdo it. I'm there for maybe 20 to 30 minutes, max 45 minutes on my cardio machine. And I do this for my number one, for me, it helps me get my steps because I do work a desk job. So I have a walking pad, but I'm not always on my walking pad. Like for instance, right now, I'm not on my walking pad. So I spend a couple hours a day on my walking pad. And then when I'm done with my walking pad hours the day and I'm done with my work day, I see where my steps are at. And to finish off my steps, I will get on my cardio machine. I prefer the Stairmaster. People call
Mm,
me crazy for that,
mm.
but I do really love the challenge. I do love what it does to it really helps build my respiratory system. So
Nice.
that is my methodology, but you can do whatever cardio you like. Brisk walking is actually one of the best cardios to do for zone 2
Love
and
that.
3.
I love the brisk
Yes,
walk. And then
like
the weighted
Kristie was
vest.
saying.
The
Yes.
the weighted vest. So the whole, like, the big fad, or at least it was recently, was to get a weighted vest. Like, literally, honestly, got ladies, when it's this vest that literally has weight. Weighted vest, hence the name. But like and they have like 5 pounds, 10, 15. I have 5 pounds, enough for me. When I wear it, I feel like I'm wearing a bulletproof vest, and people are looking like, people who don't know what that is yet, they're looking at me like, is there something going on that I should know about? And but yet then I see like these other women who are doing the same thing when I'm on my walk. So it's kind of fun. But like that's like, oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about. Okay. Can you briefly explain the weight vest?
Oh goodness.
I
Yes,
know,
I'm
I know.
trying.
We're gonna have to have another like part two. We keep having part twos, but in threes.
Yeah.
There's so much to talk about. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so a weighted vest is a great way to take your walking to the next level. Like Kristie said, weighted vest is going to increase your heart rate, your BPM, for most people. Adding incline will do the same. If you want to get really excited about it, you
I
can
do
add a weighted.
both.
Yeah, add a weighted vest on incline. Don't overdo it, ladies. And I would say for us ladies, the weighted vest, it does help with our bone density too, to have some resistance when we walk. So that's
Right.
another reason why it has become a fad, as you said, Kristie. A lot of women over 40 will add a weighted vest to their steps once they get their
Me.
steps in a rhythm. Yeah. So
Sure.
once you've mastered your however many steps, 8, 10,000 steps a day that you're doing, and you feel good about doing it with your body weight, then you can add the weighted vest. It's going to, number one, challenge your cardiovascular system a little more. Number two, challenge your muscles and your posture. So essentially, it will help with bone density as you age, which is great. Don't overdo it. Most of us ladies out there, 5,
Yeah.
10, up to 15 pounds is fine. I wouldn't really go above 20 pounds for women.
It's a
I
lot.
personally I have a 15 and I have a 20-pound vest, and I will
Woo!
tell you, I rarely use a 20-pound because it's just too much.
Yeah.
I stick with the
And I don't
15
even do it.
myself.
So for me, I don't even wear the vest every time I walk. Like,
No, no,
I'll
no,
do it a
no. You don't
few
need to do it every
times
time.
a week
Yep.
when I'll do my walks daily, or 6 times a week, and then I'll wear it like maybe 3 of the times.
Yeah, 2 to 3 times
Yeah.
a week is great
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
weighted vest,
Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
you can challenge your cardiovascular system, when it comes to cardio, a few ways that are really healthy and easy and free would be walking outside, walking at an incline, a cardio machine like a Stairmaster, a treadmill, an elliptical. All of these are great. Swimming is another great form of cardio that you can control your
Right.
heart rate in that nice zone. Yeah. And
And not
also,
as bad on your joints, right,
not yeah,
Samara?
that's really good for your joints, actually. Yeah, not as bad on your joints. You want to reduce impact, which is why if you're gonna be outside, try to wear shoes that absorb impact. If you can be on sand, dirt, or grass,
Woo.
or even a track, like an actual like an
Okay.
outdoor track, that's better than pavement. Anything's better than pavement, which is why I personally where I live, I only have pavement to walk on, and that's just not I get shin splints really easily. So I really do depend heavily on my walking pad and my Stairmaster that I have in my house. And then hiking is another great way to get your cardio in for fun if you have hiking spots near you, anything like that, going and doing maybe like a hot Pilates or yoga class, that could be another way of getting that in. So that is the movement. I wanted to really say that movement is my first anxiety and stress relief tool. Kristie touched on a lot of them, so I won't go too much into it. But the second one that I will say I swear by, I do this daily. I try to do this every day when I wake up and right before I go to bed. I spend less than 5 minutes each time on this, and then sometimes I'll do it in the middle of the day if my anxiety gets to a high point, and that is breath work. Ladies, if
Mm,
you haven't tried breath work, simple
mm.
breath work technique. Box breathing is my favorite, but there's so many different breathing techniques. All you have to do is go on YouTube and say 5 minute guided breath work practice, and you can even specify 5 minute guided breath work first thing in the morning, 5 minute guided breath work before bedtime, and 5 minute guided breath work for high anxiety levels. That's what I do. I just go on YouTube and I find a guided breath work session. I do it. It takes less than 5 minutes. And if I don't have 5 minutes, I'll just take 1 minute out of my day and just
Perfect.
take some deep breaths. This is free.
Yes.
This is easy. This is not too time consuming. So those are my two top ways of managing stress and anxiety myself, which would be the movement in the forms I talked about, the breath work. And then I'm going to throw in a third one just because Kristie did three. And this one is going to be subjective. It's going to be whatever you like to do. And the simple answer is do something you enjoy. Do something you enjoy that
Ooh,
does not have to be productive. So this
love
can be
it.
anything. This can be reading. This can be drawing,
Love
painting. For me, I go spend time with my animals that I have rescue animals.
mm.
I'll go and brush my horse. I will go, enjoy a sunset. I will sketch in my sketching book, something, whatever you like. Maybe you like puzzles. Maybe you like board games, something you enjoy that
Yes.
it is not super productive or like hustle culture.
There you
That's what I'm
go.
saying. Like it just needs to be an activity that you enjoy because typically if there's a recreational activity you enjoy, there's a high likelihood that that is going to relieve some stress.
That's amazing. I love how you're like, it doesn't have to be productive. That's the pressure we're under to be all the time.
Right.
It's not
Right.
about that. Something you enjoy. Fun, 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 fun.
Have
And that
fun.
leads, yes, like we're having fun doing this podcast, but
Yes.
I'd love to close this out. This has been such a great episode. Mindset, well being. We incorporated that fitness, a little bit of the nutrition. You can see how, ladies, it is all together. It is
Right.
encompassing, intertwined, right? But we so enjoyed being with you again. This was our episode 4. We have episode 5 coming, and I think Samara has some follow ups
I
from
do.
previous episodes, some part 2s, as I
Right.
understand it. Do you have the topic name for your next episode, Samara, that you're going to be the content deliverer?
Yes. Yeah. So episode 5 is going to be a continuation of episode 3, where we talked about strength training and those top 3 benefits for strength training for us women over 30. And we are going to touch on topic 2, which is going to be body recomp or body composition. And that is going to be a really exciting episode. I'm going to share with you guys some advice and some experience of mine on how you can build your dream body at any age, no matter what your genetics are, and honestly just enjoy it and really fall in love with the process.
Awesome. That's so fun. I love it.
Yeah.
Any age. It doesn't matter. Well, ladies, it was again a pleasure. We will see you next time. Thanks so much for joining us. See you later.
Bye. See you next time.